Thanks for joining us and listening to another God-lived and God-breathed message by Darius Nelms. Our mission is to increase our generation standard back to God's standard of excellence and kingdom living through personal development, relational wisdom, business management, and faith increase. Our aim is that this message inspires and infuses you to reach your next level of living and helps you discover your rightful place in God's kingdom. Now, let's dive into the message.
Welcome to another episode of Think Tank Tuesday, where we meet every other Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to discuss the mind of God, the ideas of God, and the precepts of God. This is Think Tank Tuesday episode number 30. That's right, Think Tank Tuesday episode 30. And we will be discussing today the idea and the theme of partnership with men, right? Partnership with men. Now, what we need to know and understand is that God's kingdom on earth is designed with man management in mind, meaning that men as a species, men and women alike, are called to manage the earth and the resources in it. It teaches us this in Psalms chapter 115, verse 16. Psalms chapter 115, verse 16, NIV version. It says, "The highest heavens belong to the Lord, but the earth he has given to mankind." And in our management of things on earth, we are also called to manage our relationships, because the world is based on economics. Stay with me. The world is based on economics. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 19, NIV version. It says, "A feast is made for laughter. Wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything." What is it the answer for? Everything. Not some things, but everything. But the one thing in the world that triumphs over money is relationships. How do I know? You can run out of money personally and can know someone by way of relationship that has money, and they can get you what you need. Because relationships triumph over money. Say it with me. Relationships triumph over money. Say it with me again. Relationships triumph over money. Yet we burn relationships for the almighty green dollar. Such a sad mistake that we make. Because relationships open doors for opportunities. See, we should manage our relationships to a higher degree than how we manage our money. See, there are many who are budget craftsmen. They know how to tighten up their budget. They know how to budget well. But what if we managed our relationships the way that we manage our money? What would the state of our relationships be, or the lack thereof? So what I'm about to read to you is 1 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 18. And it's a lengthy passage of scripture, but I want you to remain patient. Tune in to the screen as media is going to put the verse here on the screen. And I want you to stay with me through this passage of scripture, and I want you to get the idea of what's going on. 1 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 18, NIV version says, "When Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon, because he had always been on friendly terms with David." Okay, I want you to really, really pay attention to that. The king had always been on friendly terms with King David. So Solomon sent back this message to Hiram. Verse 3, "You know that because of the wars waged against my father from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord, his God, until the Lord put his enemies under his feet." Verse 4 says, "But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster." Verse 5, "I intended therefore to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David, when he said, 'Your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build the temple for my name.'" Verse 6, "So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut for me. My men will work with yours, and I will pay you for your men whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one skilled in felling timber as the Sidonians." Verse 7 says, "When Hiram heard Solomon's message, he was greatly pleased and said, 'Praise be to the Lord today, for he has given David a wise son to rule over this great nation.'" So Hiram sent word to Solomon, "I have received the message you sent me. and will do all you want in providing the cedar and juniper logs. My men, in verse 9, will haul them down from Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and I will float them on rafts by sea to set a place that you specify. There I will separate them, and you can take them away. And you are to grant my wish by providing food for my royal household. In this way, Hiram kept Solomon supplied with all the cedar and juniper logs he wanted, and Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household, in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. Solomon continued to do this for him year after year, and the Lord gave Solomon wisdom just as he had promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. King Solomon conscripted laborers from all of Israel, 30,000 men. He sent them to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month, so that they spent 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stonecutters in the hills, as well as 3,300 foremen who supervised the project and directed the workers. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of high-grade stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple. The craftsmen of Solomon and Aram and workers from Byblos cut and prepared the timber and stone for the building of the temple. So what we just read in 1 Kings chapter 5 verses 1 through 18 is that Solomon's desire and destiny was to build a temple for God. He was called for this moment, right? He was called to build a temple for God, and it was his desire to do so. But his ability to build the temple that he was called to do and that he wanted to do was man dependent. The temple that Solomon was called to build and the temple that Solomon wanted to build by way of desire was man dependent. And so we could argue that the basis of Solomon's ability to build the temple was predicated on his relationship with the king of Tyre. But the relationship preceded Solomon. That relationship was built by Solomon's father, who was King David. And we see this in business all the time. When you start a business, you develop a relationship with your distributors, and you will die at some point. And so the relationship that you have with your distributors will be passed down to your children as they take over the business. And the relationship that you have with your distributors will affect your children one way or another, either positively or negatively. And so we see King David and the king of Tyre have a wonderful relationship, to the point that where even after David died, Solomon could call on him and can get help from him, whether it was material, whether it was manpower, whatever the case is. Solomon was able to call on that connection that his father David built. And so this is even a small snippet and a message for fathers, that the relationships that you build and have will be passed down to your children. Relationships are part of the inheritance that a father passes down to his children. As it says in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22, where it says, a good man leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And so money runs out, but relationships can stand forever. Your money can run out, and you can't afford a roof over your head, but the relationships that you sustain and maintain will welcome you into their home with willing and open arms. That's why Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1, NIV version says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. See, relationships are greater than great riches. The relationship that you have with yourself and the relationship that you have with others is greater than riches. And then it continues to read, to be esteemed is better than silver and gold, because relationships triumph over money. Say it with me, relationships triumph over money. And so how you deal with others will affect the longevity of your money. Let me say that again. How you deal with others will affect the longevity of your money. How you deal with others will affect the longevity of your money. Relationships are builders and investments to your increase. You will rise or fall based on the relationships that you build or the relationships that you destroy. Because on our pathway to destiny, the help of men is required. Let me say that again. On the path to destiny, on the road to destiny, whether God has called you to do it or whether you have a desire to do it yourself and it aligns with God's will, either way, help from men is required. Luke chapter 23, verse 26, NIV version. It says, as the soldiers led him away, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. So that cross had to be carried. That burden had to be carried. A man had to carry it. The destiny of Jesus was solely dependent on a man. The crucifixion wasn't happening without that 12-foot tall, 6-foot wide, 300-pound cross. And a man had to carry it. Don't you miss what I'm telling you. There are people that God has designed to help you carry your load and to help you carry your burden. And guess what? That may be directly linked to your destiny. They are designed to help you come to the conclusion of your destiny. So there are people that God has designed to help you carry your burden, to help you carry your load. And again, it may be directly tied to your destiny. And these same people that are meant to help carry your load, that are designed to help carry your burden, they are designed to also help you come to the conclusion of your destiny. And so in God's case, it's man's ability to manage the earth. In Solomon's case, his job was connected to the king of Tyre. But it was his father David's job to manage the relationship well enough so that his son could call for greater help even after he was gone. Even in Jesus' case, the Simon of Cyrene, who was called to carry the cross, was called to help Jesus, was a pure destiny helper, was called to help Jesus carry that cross to the point that it would finish and solidify Jesus' destiny and impart his mission. Because man's ability to manage relationships is a strategy for a successful life. Man's ability to recognize the counsel of God is knowing that there are destiny helpers designed for each of us to help us fulfill the task that God has called us to and that we are called for. And so we are called to build something in our sphere of influence that reflects the nature of God. And guess what? It is going to take the help of men to help you do it. We are all called to build something in our own spheres of influence. Everybody has a different sphere of influence. Everyone is a part of a different world, right? And within that sphere and within that world, whatever it is that we're called to build, it is called to reflect the nature of God. And guess what? It's going to take men to help us do it and to help us build it. And so a life that is bankrupt of relationships will experience extreme limitations. If your life is void of some sort of fruitful relationships, you will experience extreme limitations because our becoming is based on who helps us become. Let me say that again. Our becoming is based on who will help us become. And so a life of full independence is a limited life. A life of full independence, meaning you don't need nobody's help, is an extremely limited life because God has called us to have a healthy level of dependence on Him and a healthy level of dependence on man, on in partnership with our earthly vessels, our destiny helpers. And I understand there are some people that are really good people. And somehow relationally, it has not worked out with all people. I've been one of those people. And my focus and my message to those that have experienced various relational turmoil at really no fault of your own, my message and my encouragement is to not grow bitter, to not give up on relationships, to not give up on partnerships, because it's not the end of the road. There's somebody that God has placed in your path to help you. It may come early in life. It may come later in life. But God has placed someone in your path to help you at some point in your life, to help you build whatever it is that He's called you to build that will exemplify His nature in whatever it is that you build. And so my encouragement to the discouraged that have had trouble figuring out the relationship thing, sustaining long-term relationships. Again, at no fault of your own. As I read in a book one time by a great philosopher, he said that it's not your fault that you have enemies. And so we have to continue to put our hand to the plow, continue to treat people nice, with love, with kindness, with patience, etc. Continue to invest and pour into people. And I guarantee you, before the end of your life, you will come across your destiny helper that will help you carry your load, that will help you carry your burden. The same way I'm encouraging you, I'm encouraging myself in the same way. I've come across some destiny helpers, and I'm very grateful for them. They've helped me carry my load, and I know that I'm going to continue to run into even more destiny helpers that's going to continue to help me carry the load as the load gets bigger, as the load gets wider. Just as it was for the man, Simon of Cyrene, that helped carry Jesus' cross to Calvary. There's a destiny helper, even if it's closer to the end of your life or closer to the end of your road, that destiny helper is going to be there to help you finish what it is that God told you to start. Thank you so much for your time. If you like this episode and this lesson, please like this video, share with a friend, share on your social media channels. Make sure you go to the website, www.dariusnelms.com, to get more content, more study guides, and even my latest book entitled Contrary to Popular Belief. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, friends, peace.
May the Lord bless you, keep you, and make his face shine upon you. As we abide in his grace, presence, and peace, remember that you are an agent of change wherever your feet shall tread. Thanks for listening to this message and for the opportunity to teach and lead you. Until next time.